Imagine you are walking into a physical conference room at your office.
Yeah.
And right before you cross the threshold, someone hands you a mirror and forces you to stare directly at your own face for the entire duration of the meeting.
Oh, man. That sounds awful.
Right. You have to watch every time you blink, every time you take a sip of water, and, every time you look even slightly confused by a spreadsheet. I mean, it sounds like an absolute psychological nightmare.
It totally does.
But for anyone listening to us right now, you already know that is literally just a Tuesday morning. We're doing a deep dive today into a linguistic survival guide.
Yeah, a toolkit of meeting English.
Exactly. It's designed specifically to lower the overwhelming cognitive load of video calls. Because the anxiety you feel before clicking join, well, it isn't just about the work itself.
No, not at all.
It is the compounding stress of trying to remember the right corporate vernacular, dealing with the inevitable bandwidth drops, camera anxiety, and enduring that bizarre torture of monitoring your own micro-expressions in real time.
Oh. It really is the reality of modern knowledge work, and it presents this unique cognitive trap because we've basically normalized a communication environment that is, psychologically speaking, incredibly hostile.
Hostile is the perfect word for it.
Right. When you stack all of those digital stressors on top of each other, your mental RAM simply maxes out. You aren't just communicating ideas anymore. You're actively fighting the medium you are using to communicate.
Okay, let's unpack this, because our sources break down the natural life cycle of a meeting. And it always starts with the most vulnerable, high-stakes moment, which is getting through the digital door.
The entrance.
Right, the art of the digital entrance. So picture the scenario. The meeting starts at 2:00 p.m. It is currently 2:03 p.m.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you are rushing, your mouse is hovering over the link, the camera flickers to life, the microphone goes live, and boom, everyone is already there. The conversation halts.
And 5 faces are just staring at you in the grid.
The worst feeling. The instinct here is to launch into a massive apology, right? Like to explain the traffic or the surprise Windows update or, I don't know, the dog throwing up.
Right, you want to justify it.
But the material emphasizes a completely different, highly specific phrase to deploy here.
It does. The universal phrase to deploy in that exact millisecond is incredibly brief. It's just, sorry I'm late.
Just sorry I'm late. The urge to over-explain is so strong, though. It feels almost rude not to justify why you held up 5 other professionals.
I get that. It feels rude in a physical context, perhaps, but the critical insight here is about efficiency in a vacuum. The golden rule of digital entrances is that nobody in that grid actually cares about the mechanical reason for your delay.
Wow, good to know.
Yeah, the moment you launch into a multi-sentence apology about your router restarting, you are doing something way worse than being late. You are holding the meeting hostage.
Oh, that's a great point.
You're forcing everyone to actively listen to a narrative that does not advance the agenda at all. Sorry, I'm late, is basically a functional linguistic token.
A token.
Like a transaction.
Exactly. It translates to, I acknowledge I delayed us, I am present, please resume. You deploy the token, and the group focus can immediately snap back to the work.
That recenters the entire dynamic. It's an acknowledgement, not a deposition. But what happens when you aren't technically late, but you're caught in that weird digital purgatory?
Oh, the lag.
Yes. Your connection is slow, the loading wheel is spinning, and you are acutely aware that your colleagues are currently staring at a frozen, highly unflattering mid-blink expression of your face.
Which is always the worst angle, by the way.
Always.
In that case, you deploy the polite filler phrase specifically engineered for that scenario. You just say, just a sec, connecting.
You know, I'd probably say just a sec, connecting all the time without realizing I'm actually deploying a highly evolved psychological buffer.
Precisely. Because in a physical office, if you walk in late or flustered, people get visual context. They see you're out of breath.
They watch you physically taking off your coat, pulling out a chair, opening your laptop. All that visual data explains your silence.
But on a call, you don't have that.
No, in a digital space, silence equals absence. Or worse, incompetence. There is zero other data input.
So saying, just a sec, connecting signals to your waiting colleagues that you are mentally present, but your hardware is just catching up.
Exactly. It fills the void of dead air, and it prevents the social awkwardness of someone else asking, are you there?
You are basically verbally narrating the physical actions they cannot see. And then finally, the internet gods smile upon you. The ping rate drops, the audio is crisp, you are officially in.
You made it.
Right. And the guide points out that your ultimate arrival declaration should be very simple. It should be made it, not I'm here, but made it.
Which sounds so minor, but it's important.
I think the mechanism behind that distinction is crucial. If we think about this mechanistically, saying I'm here in a flat tone, it's like sneaking into a dark theater and sliding into the back row.
You're trying to minimize your footprint.
But saying made it brings a spike of casual, friendly energy. It is an active boundary crossing.
What's fascinating here is how these microphrases act as necessary social lubricants. They bypass the inherent friction of the software. We really rely on them because the physical cues we evolved to use over thousands of years have been entirely stripped away.
So we have to rebuild our presence using only syntax.
Yes, precisely.
Okay, so you've successfully breached the digital room. The entrance is complete. Your presence is established. But the illusion of stability once you're in is incredibly fragile.
Extremely fragile.
We're moving into navigating the chaos of the call itself. Ideas are flowing, the rhythm is good, and then a colleague starts making a deeply passionate, wildly gesticulated point, but absolutely zero sound is coming out of their mouth.
Ah, the great equalizer of the modern era. You had to deploy what is likely the most used phrase of the 21st century. You're on mute.
And it is almost universally delivered with a little laugh, because it happened to the intern on day 1, and it happens to the CEO of a Fortune 500 company on day 10,000.
It's a completely shared vulnerability.
It is a shared vulnerability, and the behavioral response when you are the one who is muted, well, it has to be just as ruthlessly efficient.
Yeah, because when you realize you've been pantomiming to a silent room, the immediate reaction is panic and profound embarrassment.
Oh, I turn bright red every time.
We all do. The instinct is to apologize profusely, but the correct mechanical response is to simply click the microphone icon, say sorry, was on mute, and resume your sentence.
Right. Do not compound the delay by drawing attention to the error.
Exactly. Just fix it and move on.
But let's look at the inverse nightmare. You meticulously check your microphone status. You unmute. You deliver a brilliant, perfectly articulated, paradigm-shifting insight.
And nothing.
Total silence from the grid. No one nods.
Yeah.
No one blinks. Just the digital void staring back at you.
Yeah, this triggers the crucial 3-second rule. If you speak and receive absolutely zero visual or auditory feedback for 3 seconds, you cannot just wait and hope the network catches up.
You have to act.
You must deploy the diagnostic phrase, "Can you hear me?"
We all instinctively use, "Can you hear me?"
Yeah.
But it's interesting to dissect why we don't just trust the green ring around our video feed. Like the interface tells us we are transmitting.
Well, the interface tells you data is leaving your machine, but it doesn't guarantee the data is being rendered in their reality.
That is a terrifying way to phrase it, but it's so true.
You have to ask the question out loud to prevent the embarrassment of delivering a 10-minute monologue to a disconnected server. You require absolute confirmation, like a verbal yes or a digital thumbs up, before you invest more cognitive energy into the presentation.
Which brings us directly to the concept of controlling that digital reality. The material brings up screen sharing next. It insists that you must announce, "Let me share my screen" out loud before you actually click the button.
Yes, you must verbalize it.
But wait, announcing "Let me share my screen" every single time. It feels like we're treating our coworkers like toddlers. I mean, we all know how video calls work by now.
That's a fair reaction.
We've done this thousands of times. Isn't narrating every single mouse click total overkill?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it becomes evident that this narration isn't about treating colleagues like children, nor is it about a lack of technical confidence. It is entirely about establishing and protecting a shared reality.
A shared reality. Break down the mechanics of that for us.
Think about the physical equivalent. If you and I are at a conference table and I want you to look at a report, I pick up a physical piece of paper, I extend my arm across the table, and I place it in front of you.
Okay, yeah.
You watch my arm move. Your brain has 2 or 3 seconds to process the physical transition of focus.
Right, there's a visual buildup.
But in a digital space, we suffer from a condition of collective blindness. When someone clicks share screen, the transition is instantaneous and often chaotic. Screens flicker black, windows dynamically resize, infinite mirrors occasionally cascade across the monitor.
It's visual violence. Suddenly your spreadsheet is gone and you're looking at a giant PDF.
Precisely. If you do not announce, "Let me share my screen," that sudden, violent shift on everyone's monitor is deeply jarring. The brain registers a glitch. People wonder, did my graphics card crash? What am I looking at?
Wow, I never thought about it like that.
The verbal announcement acts as a cognitive buffer. You are warning their nervous systems to prepare for a visual shift. You are explicitly stating, I am about to alter our shared reality.
That reframes it completely. It's not a lack of confidence. It's literally a courtesy warning before you detonate a flashbang in their visual field.
That's a great way to put it.
But establishing that shared reality with screen sharing is great when you actually have the floor. What about when someone else is dominating that reality and you need to break in without shattering the flow?
Ah, the interruption.
The material highlights the ultimate polite interruption. When you have a vital, quick point to inject, you use what is essentially a verbal clutch. Sorry to jump in.
The mechanics of Sorry to Jump In are highly effective for managing digital traffic.
I look at it exactly like the clutch in a manual transmission. If you just mash the gears while the engine is running, meaning if you just start talking over someone, you grind the metal.
It's an aggressive, hostile interruption.
Exactly. But saying sorry to jump in momentarily disconnects the engine. It softens the blow, allows the RPMs to match, and lets you shift gears smoothly.
I like that analogy.
And if you add the modifier real quick, like sorry to jump in real quick, you are pulling off a masterclass in verbal maneuvering. In 6 words, you ask for permission, acknowledge the interruption, and promise not to derail their momentum.
And the sorry is doing an immense amount of heavy lifting there.
How so?
It acts as a preemptive apology for violating the turn-taking rules of conversation. And those rules are already strained by audio lag and missing body language.
Okay, so we've survived the entrance. We've navigated the chaotic middle, deployed the verbal fletch, and managed the shared reality of screen sharing.
We're doing great.
But maintaining that reality is exhausting. The cognitive fatigue really sets in around the 45-minute mark. You need an escape hatch that doesn't collapse the social structure. We need to dissect the graceful exit.
Escaping a video call smoothly without letting it drag into awkward, unstructured territory is a surprisingly rare skill.
It really is.
Without the physical cues of a meeting ending, people closing their laptop lids, shifting their weight, gathering their coffee mugs, the digital room exists in a perpetual state of limbo.
And if you are leading the meeting or just wrapping up your specific section, you cannot leave a vacuum. The most efficient way to pass the baton is just over to you. Like, over to you, Sarah.
It decisively directs the flow of traffic. It eliminates the torturous silence where everyone wonders who is supposed to unmute next.
You can also modify it to over to you all to open the floor.
Yeah, but it fundamentally assigns responsibility for the next block of time.
But then we get to the actual countdown. There are 5 minutes left on the calendar invite. The group is meandering. The tool to deploy here is let's wrap up.
Classic.
I look at let's wrap up the exact same way a bartender calls last call at 1:45 a.m. It is a gentle, friendly, but absolutely non-negotiable boundary.
Let's wrap up is the professional verbal countdown. It signals a structural shift in the meeting. It broadcasts to everyone that the window for introducing entirely new, massive, complex topics has officially closed.
The window is shut, people.
We are now entering the phase of summarizing action items and final thoughts.
And the material is incredibly explicit about what not to say here. You don't say, we should stop now, because that sounds dictatorial.
Very harsh.
And you definitely avoid the bizarre robotic closings like saying end of meeting or roll the credits.
This raises an important question about subtle leadership in a digital vacuum, actually. Utilizing a linguistic boundary like let's wrap up isn't merely a functional tool for timekeeping.
What else is it doing?
It is a mechanism to demonstrate leadership and establish respect for everyone's cognitive load, regardless of where you sit on the organizational chart.
So you don't have to be the boss to say it.
Not at all. Even if you are not the official manager of the project, being the individual who kindly but firmly initiates the wrap-up sequence at the 55-minute mark is universally appreciated by the rest of the room. You are protecting their time.
You become the hero of the hour. And then comes the grand finale, the actual termination of the connection, the universal closer. Thanks, everyone. You smile, you wave, and you sever the feed.
It provides finality without requiring a response.
Simple and clean. Okay, so we have the vocabulary, we've deconstructed the mechanism of the entrance, the navigation of the digital reality, and the graceful exit.
The whole life cycle.
But having the vocabulary intellectually mapped out in your head is entirely different from deploying it naturally when a grid of silent, high-definition faces is staring at you.
It really is. It requires actual physical muscle memory. Which brings us to the final and arguably most important concept from the source material, the solo practice hack.
So what does this all mean? I read this part about sitting alone in an empty Zoom room, and I'll be honest, I felt ridiculous even contemplating it.
A lot of people do. The operational directive here is quite specific. You are instructed to launch a video meeting entirely by yourself, an empty room.
Right. But when I actually sat down, turned on the camera, and tried to stare directly into that little black dot while speaking, I realized how deeply, fundamentally unnatural it feels.
Oh, absolutely.
It feels like I'm performing for a piece of hardware. Is that the barrier we are trying to overcome?
That is exactly the barrier. We are dealing with a profound evolutionary mismatch here. As a species, we are biologically hardwired to seek out faces and maintain eye contact when we communicate.
Right, that's how we connect.
Exactly. We use eye contact to gauge emotional reactions, build rapport, and establish trust. But the architecture of a laptop completely subverts this. If you look at the human faces rendered on your screen to those people, it appears as though your gaze is cast downward.
You appear disengaged or evasive because the camera lens is physically located inches above where the faces are displayed.
Exactly. To project confidence, to synthesize the illusion of direct eye contact for the viewers on the other end, you must completely ignore their faces and speak directly into a cold, black, unblinking glass lens.
Which is terrifying.
And to the human amygdala, staring into a black void while speaking triggers a subtle but very real stress response. It mimics the sensation of being observed without mutual connection. It's a predator-prey dynamic.
Wow. You are fighting millions of years of primate evolution just to say, sorry to jump in.
You really are. The solo practice hack, forcing yourself to say these target phrases out loud 3 times each, directly into the lens of an empty digital room, is essentially exposure therapy.
Exposure therapy, that makes so much sense.
You are training your nervous system to decouple speaking from the requirement of seeing a face. You are building the physical muscle memory to project your voice and maintain natural timing while staring at a piece of glass.
It's exactly like a stage actor practicing hitting their tape mark on the floor. You aren't rehearsing the lines, you are rehearsing the physical mechanics of the digital performance.
Spot on.
So for you listening to this right now, mastering these seemingly basic phrases, understanding why they work and how to deploy them, acts as a kind of secret armor.
It really does.
It optimizes your mental RAM. Just think about the energy drain. If you aren't silently panicking for 10 minutes about how to engage the verbal clutch to interrupt a dominating colleague, or, sweating over how to construct a linguistic boundary to end the meeting without sounding like a dictator, you reclaim all of that cognitive processing power.
You get your brain back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can actually use your brain to focus on the insights, the strategy, and the actual work you're bringing to the table, instead of perpetually fighting the friction of the software.
And that reality leaves us with a rather profound final thought to ponder.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if these highly optimized specific microphrases made it, you're on mute, sorry to jump in, let's wrap up. If these are the vital linguistic crutches that keep our modern digital work lives from collapsing into social chaos, what does that indicate about how the medium is fundamentally altering human conversation?
That's a huge question.
Will the extreme brevity, directness, and hyper-efficiency that we've been forced to adopt just to survive a video call eventually bleed out of the screen and into our physical reality? Are we going to see our traditional, more meandering, natural greetings replaced by this mechanical meeting English, even when we are standing face-to-face in a physical room?
Oh, wow. Will we start walking into a restaurant to meet a friend, skip the hug, and just announce, made it?
Right, or sitting at a dinner party, pointing at a guest and saying, over to you.
It really makes you wonder if we are training ourselves to speak like the software we use. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Before your next scheduled block of digital purgatory, before you have to endure the psychological tax of staring at that mirror strapped to your own face, we highly encourage you to try the empty room practice.
Definitely give it a try.
Open the camera, stare right into the unblinking black dot, say the phrases out loud, and build that armor. We'll catch you on the next one.